Hi, I'm Hannah Smith, host and producer of The Opportunist. We have a brand new season for you, and the first 2 episodes drop September 28th. In February of 2013, about 50 people disappeared from Whatcom County, Washington. But this is not a missing person story, because we know where they are. They followed a woman named Cheryl Ruthven to a small town outside of Nashville. Cheryl's followers believe that she is the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. With the promise of eternal salvation, she convinced her followers to leave their families, drain their bank accounts, and fill their homes with cats. Be sure to follow, rate, and review Cast Media's original podcast, The Opportunist, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen.
Cuban. Mark. Which one is a sandwich and which one is my childhood friend? You may find out today on I Don't Know About That with Jim Jeffries.
What?
Hello, everyone. This is our last podcast in this studio.
Wait. Where did you get these words from?
Mark Cuban. There's a picture of him and Mark Cuban right there.
Oh, you did Cuban Mark, though.
I know, because if I did it the right way around, it would have sounded like the thing.
It was so funny because right before you started, you go, not in the room, and then you go Cuban. And I was like, Luis is not Cuban. I was like, that's so... But then I realized you were talking about that picture.
Jim only gets words from things inside the room, which leads us into what you were saying. It's good we're moving.
We're moving to the improv to do the recordings, which we're very excited about. Yeah. Jack's very excited about moving all this stuff from in here. He's over the moon about that. We've been gigging. We've been in Chicago and New York and Indianapolis. The shows were fantastic. Well, thank you for all the people who came out. What shows have we got coming up, Jack?
Friday, October 8th, Fort Myers, Florida. Saturday, October 9th, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then on Sunday, October 10th, Jacksonville, Florida.
I got to ask you, you're from Florida, Forrest. Mm-hmm. Fort Lauderdale's just Miami, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, those people would probably tell you they'd be upset. It's a different area code. But yeah, once you're in South Florida, from Palm Beach all the way to the southern end of Dade County where Miami is, it's just a city. It's like going east in LA or something. It's like it just keeps going. It doesn't.
I always like going to Florida with Forrest. It's one of my favorite things. You see these friends show up that he hasn't seen for years, and you forget what he was like as a young boy. And I like to drive around and I play a game. This is Forrest's childhood. I point at different things. I go, that's the gas station where you used to get lollies as a child, and I do a little thing.
Yeah, and we're in Fort Lauderdale. We're always in Fort Lauderdale, and it's not. I don't live anywhere near there. Yeah. I'm not going with you on those gigs. I'm not doing the Florida
I'll still
gigs.
Do the story. I'll tell other people.
We also have other exciting news. We have in the works. We're going to start doing live podcast shows.
What?
Yeah.
We are?
And so I think probably the first one we'll probably try for mid-November or like early December. And we also have
what is a live podcast? What is this?
So we're going to be doing things live so people will be able to participate.
But not in a theater.
Not in a theater. Yeah. So
live streaming.
Yeah, live streaming. And we are also working on merch. So that should be coming out.
Do we know
soon.
what we're doing merch-wise?
Yeah, we're gonna start with we're gonna have some mugs, some sweatshirts, some shirts.
It's just gonna say I don't know about that.
Yeah, they might say that.
Don't worry, I've sent in some ideas.
We do some give them what they want t-shirts.
You don't even say give them what they want.
I just said it then.
Yeah, he said it our last podcast too.
Give them what they want. And then we can have some Jack Hackett t-shirts.
A bunch of life hackets on the back.
I sent to our booker, I said, could you ask the graphic designer if he could maybe do a picture of a bunch of bees jizzing on another bee and then label it Bee Cocky? She's like, I'm so excited to send this to the graphic designer. So I just want to see what they come up with there.
Bee Cocky.
So we may have a Bee Cocky shirt.
Oh, good. Oh, I just want a picture of Jack's face on a shirt and then just like one sleeve missing because that's his Hackett where he pulls his shirt off.
It's got the hole in the armpit.
It's got the signature armpit hole.
And then it should say, hello, my name is not Dave Grohl. Perfect. All right, Jack, what do you got for us today?
So Kelly and I brainstormed on a new segment.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Like Kelly does.
I didn't know there were enough hours in the day.
I know, Kelly's so busy. I had to really schedule it in.
What does brainstorming with you and Kelly look like?
It's usually me being high going, what if we did something like this?
I said, sounds good.
Wow.
So
filmed
she
that.
referenced some podcasts where they get questions to learn a little bit more about the host because it's fun to learn about people's personal lives. So I pulled up some.
And we got a message in the podcast group saying somebody wanted to know more about Luis.
Oh, that's right.
Corner boy.
They call him
They
Corner
called
Boy,
him.
though.
Yeah.
So I have some icebreaker questions I pulled from the internet. Some are funny, some are good. So we'll see how it goes.
Wait, so you're asking Jim?
Yep.
All of it, everybody.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
I've just realized you're wearing a Margaritaville T-shirt.
I'm wearing the musical because the musical.
Oh, you went to the
episode.
musical? Huh?
Yeah, it's real.
That was last week.
Yeah, because of last week. You've been wearing it for a week.
It smells bad. First icebreaker question. What's the strangest food you've tried and would you eat it again?
I ate a bull's testicle once because when I was a poor comedian, I was coming home from a gig and we went to like a kebab house that was a bit fancy in London. And the other comic who I'm still friends with, but I won't say his name because he comes off a bit of a jerk in this story. And he said, and I was a starving comedian. I had no money to me name. And I'd done an open spot. And he said, I'll buy you a kebab, but I get to choose the kebab, right? And I was like, I'll eat anything. And so it was a bull's testicle. They're about the size of
Hey, there was a
cricket ball.
Bull's testicle
Yeah.
kebab.
Yeah.
Kebab.
Yeah. It was a
Wow.
kebab house that had a whole lot of different meats in it.
Gross.
And they grilled it up. They cut it into chunks. And I ate all of that bull's testicle. I was starving.
How was it?
I was drunk. I don't know. Same as all the food.
Did you
I
know it
ate.
was a bull's testicle going in or did you find out afterwards?
No. I saw them cut the testicle up and and grill it and all that type of stuff. Licking me lips.
Forrest?
Oh, we all have to answer this?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know your strangest food?
I don't know. I've eaten a lot of strange foods. I don't know. It'll come back to me. I guess I have to think
Random
about it.
men's come.
Oh, yeah.
mine.
That's not a food, though. That's just
you,
an
Jim.
appetizer.
Pretty strange when you guys had me eat in Hong Kong was the
sea cucumber.
sea cucumber.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got this gray lumpy thing with some weird juice on it. Oh, that was rough. I was like,
I say like my friend came off as a bit of a jerk, but this is me with Jack in Asia. I'll give you $10 to eat that.
no, I'll give you an extra minute of stage time. I was like, okay, give it to me.
60
That's what it was. It was an extra minute at the Ace
He
Theater.
started off with 3 minutes. He got up to about 15 minutes with eating challenges.
Oh yeah, and then I had to drink the leftover butter from a lobster dish.
Yeah. But you liked that one.
Yeah, but I got $50
And
bucks
you
from
got
that
50
one.
bucks for
That was worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the strangest, but I mean, I've drank bong water before.
Ugh.
Yeah.
By accident or on purpose?
No, on purpose.
Oh God.
Yeah, because we were out of
dare?
weed and somebody told me you get high from that.
Do you?
I was fucked up. I don't know. I don't know if it was in a good way. My
I'll
stomach.
tell you this, I went to hospital.
It was not a fun time.
Kelly, do you have anything?
I don't have anything super. I like when I was in India, I had mutton and stuff like that. But
We just learned mutton's no good. From a barbecue
I
episode.
didn't. It was in the breakfast buffet, which was weird. I didn't know what it was. I tried it. I didn't like it so much, but I'm not super adventurous with food.
Oh, yeah, that might be the grossest thing.
Mutton bird.
Yeah, mutton bird. We've talked about
Mutton
that.
bird's dog shit.
Yeah.
It's the bird that tastes like fish.
Yeah, it's
In New Zealand?
In New Zealand, I had muttonburg eggs Benedict. And I thought, a bit of a delicacy. I'll try something different. It's fucking rancid fucking bird that tastes like fish. And it's like a black tarry looking fucking meat. And then they're like, so do you enjoy the mutton bird? Like that. And I was like,
No.
it's horrible. And they go, and the waitress was like, yeah, no one likes it. What do you have it on the fucking
Yeah.
menu for?
This is a waste.
But it's probably one of those things that old people in New Zealand claim they like. Like when you live in London, there was a dish called jellied eels, right? Which is what like sort of Cockneys would eat, jellied eel.
Actual eels.
Yeah, jellied eel, right? And it's a cold, clunky thing with like gelatine all over the eel in chunks and stuff like that. And whenever you meet like an old Cockney bloke,
Oh,
they're always
gross, dude.
they're always like this. Oh, I fucking love me some jellied eel. Oh, like this. And then whenever you're out with these comics and you're in a restaurant that has it on the menu, you go, oh, it's got the jellied eel here.
Yeah.
You should have the jellied eel. Oh no, I'll just have a BLT. No, they have it. I wouldn't want you not to have it.
Oh God.
Yeah,
It
they're
is
all lying.
gross.
It's gross, yeah.
Gross. I'm
And it
looking
was-
at
I
pictures
think.
of
I mean, things in jelly or gelatin are automatically not pleasant to look
was
I
at.
don't like cold pork pies in Britain. It's like covered in gelatin.
Yeah,
and they
it's
have
just fucking.
The picture in my head was gross, and then I Googled it, and it was way grosser.
Give me
I was like,
a look at this
Look at
jellied
this.
eels.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's shit. It's shit. And it
not even a
feels
food.
like something you would eat in China where they're like,
It's
oh,
fear
no, this is
factor.
quite good. And then in Britain where they're just like baked beans and eggs and
Yeah.
fucking chips and then they jellied eel.
Right.
Ugh.
Because you can't blame like in like developing countries and stuff like that, they eat things that typically we wouldn't because they're using the full animal or whatever. But in Britain, you're like, what?
They've
Why are
had
you
some-
doing this here?
They've had some times where they've been at war.
Have
And
you ever had head cheese?
Yeah. That's that
it's-
weird meat.
Smegma.
It's the stuff at the end of a dick, right?
Smegma, yeah.
No, it's like a cold cut that looks like
It's like-
it looks
I've
like
had it, but I've never
particle
had
board.
it.
It looks like marble, but
I've
it's
had
like
it, I haven't
made
eaten
of like leftover pig gelatin and crap.
No, it looks like
that.
if all the meat that'd be on the floor, they'd be like smash it together and make one meat, and then you can see all the pieces in it. It's,
All right, next question, Jack. You've made us all feel sick.
Okay, well,
it's good.
were there any funny occupations you wanted to be when you grew up?
First of
Oh,
all,
yeah, comedian.
You're
Yeah, the
Nailed it.
funniest of them all.
car salesman.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
You know what
No.
I mean?
I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a doctor. Like that was
That's
short-lived.
funny.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but when you know me, you go, that wouldn't have been a good fit. It was just because my mum was a hypochondriac, so we were always at the doctor's office, and I thought my doctor was a really cool guy, and he seemed to be well respected, and everyone doctor, and I thought, oh, that'd be a good job, and then I realised I couldn't cut the skin or anything like that. I'll tell you what I found out this week that I'm a bit like. I only thought this was in movies, and this is something Americans do that the rest of the world doesn't do that blew my fucking mind. My
Wipe our ass?
kid comes home from school, and he's like, yeah, I got to dissect a sheep's eyeball. And then he goes, next year we got to do a frog. And I only saw that on E.T. where they like try to knock the frog out. The frogs all started jumping. I've seen it in American movies and stuff like that. I didn't think you guys actually cut into animals in
They
class.
dissected frogs in middle school. Yeah.
That doesn't happen anywhere else. That's
My
mental.
partner
Get
passed
outta here. It
out.
happens other places.
No, this is an
They
American.
don't dissect animals in other
I've
countries.
never dissected. No, we dissect them, but not school kids. People actually,
we did.
I never came into school and had a dead animal in front of me on a bit of paper and gone, learning. Right?
We did pregnant rats, lampreys,
I did a baby pig.
Yeah,
pig,
Yeah.
turtle.
yeah.
What?
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was just
Hank
frogs.
goes, we went into the science room. He goes, it's really nice. There's animals everywhere. My wife's vegan. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, fucking, they're going to cut up some animals there, man. And he goes, there's rabbits and like, fuck this. Don't test on animals. Stop giving kids animals to cut
Yeah,
up.
we're like breeding serial killers.
Yeah, I did. I thought
I-
that was a myth. That was
They
just
just-
something in movies. I didn't know that was a real thing.
And they reek of formaldehyde. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's-
Well, they don't use
Very
formaldehyde anymore. They
disgusting.
use formalin because formaldehyde is a carcinogen.
Do,
but
do you remember
formalin-
learning
still not good for
anything?
you,
Like
but it's-
cutting open
right.
an
We
eyeball
learned
or something?
something.
Do you remember learning something?
I mean, I'm sure we
Yeah.
looked at things. The partner
Yeah.
that I had was very squeamish about doing it. And when he cut into the frog, like a little juice came out and then he
Ugh.
ended up like passing out. And I had to do it myself.
I think it's unnecessary. I don't think it's needed.
I don't think I liked
there's that-
it.
It's disgusting.
What can, like, even if video, if you want to show a video of someone doing it or a diagram in a textbook and this is where the organs
Yeah.
are. And
That's enough. That's plenty.
I mean, yeah, it's or at least wait till high school when it might be a specific
Forrest
course.
is very indifferent about this.
We don't need
Oh,
middle
yeah,
schoolers
but
doing
I-
surgery.
But I was a biology major, so but the no, I mean I remember when I was a kid though, it like it made you it was more like you learn stuff, but like you kind of understand. I don't know. It made me think about the natural world more. Like it was kind of
Australia has a strict no scalpel for 8-year-olds program.
Yeah.
8-year-old is pretty. I was trying to remember how young I did.
8 is very
pretty
young. I was in middle school.
Yeah, I
when
was
it
in middle and
I
high
was
school.
ninth grade.
So I was 12.
I was middle and high school. That's advanced, I think.
Oh,
for
no,
you.
no,
Yeah.
no. He goes to a very good school.
Private school.
He goes to a very good school. By
We
the
paid
time
the
he's,
extra money so we can cut open
by the
animals.
time he's 13, they give him Godivas.
yeah, let us know in the comments if you're.
Cadavers.
no, those chocolates from Belgium. Cadavers.
You said cadaver.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a good school.
Cadaver. I knew I got the word wrong. I thought if I just said it with enough conviction, that's the word, right? I could get it through.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you're not from America and you dissected
yeah,
animals.
yeah,
I'm
that's
curious.
Sure, in Poland they were
Well,
doing
let's find, I'm
something.
curious. Let's find out.
But they don't in Australia. They don't do it in
We'll see.
Australia.
Australians pipe in.
Maybe I went to a fucking shitty state school.
I think they're phasing it out. But also, by the way, Louise, it wasn't a baby pig; it was a fetal pig, probably.
It looked pretty developed.
It's a pig abortion. That's what it was usually. That's usually what they did. Yeah.
It had a massive cock.
Made me really depressed.
Tasted pretty good. By the way, aren't you supposed to be asking Louise questions too, since people want to know about him?
I had one ready for the last one, but
Yeah.
no one asked.
He cut up a pig at school.
Everything Luis eats is weird.
He cut up a pig at school, but that was in recess. He brought it. Had been marinating in Sprite.
Wait, what's the strangest food you've had?
Hold on, okay, Luis told us before the podcast that he rubbed an egg on his car for fucking good luck. Tell us all about that.
Wait a second, you did?
Forrest wasn't here for this.
Yeah, repeat this story, please.
Yeah, I mean, because Mexicans believe if you think someone's wishing bad upon you, you're supposed to rub an egg on yourself while saying the Our Father in Spanish.
Wait, a hard-boiled egg or a...
No, a raw egg. And then you have to crack it in water, and whatever you see in the water, it's like, that means you're worried about something, or that means people are wishing harm. And my car broke down on the way home yesterday. I had to pull over on the side of the freeway. So I was like, fuck it, I'm rubbing an egg on this car. Like, who knows? Maybe someone's wishing bad upon it. John Voight, probably.
Yeah, he has a wooden LeBaron. It got repaired with a Stanley knife and a fucking and a Phillips head screwdriver.
It looks cool in pictures, though.
Wood glue.
I don't even wash. I just spray it with Pledge.
Yeah.
Wipe it down.
The inside of it's all Lego Technics.
Yeah, it does look cool.
I'll do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Cricket taco is what I eat.
Cricket taco.
Oh.
yeah, it's
Oaxacans.
yeah, you have to eat it over 5 days.
I'll do one last icebreaker.
Slow burner.
Last icebreaker, and this was a real one on the website. Do you find Hugh Grant funny?
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
I don't think I do.
I can't think of him being. It wouldn't surprise me
He's
if he
in
were
I-
funny.
I-
and
I-
truly
I was
funny.
Not a boy is really
I
good.
was in a bar once with him and Alan Rickman. I wasn't with them. Alan Rickman and him came into a bar.
And Alan Rickman was what, Snape, right?
Yeah.
From Harry Potter?
Yeah, Die
I was just
Hard,
making
Alan
sure I
Rickman,
was,
Love Actually, Alan Rickman. Anyway, so Alan Rickman and Hugh Grant came into a comedian's bar during the Edinburgh Festival, which was, like you have to have special festival passes and all that type of stuff. And I'd only never known him. Like, I have a problem with Hugh Grant is that's not in the script. There's no way every script he reads goes, well.
Yeah, that's my problem.
I find you quite delightful. There's no two quites in there. Just do the fucking lines. Anyway, but I like Hugh Grant. Anyway, so Hugh Grant was in there, and there was a few girls with him, and him and Alan Rickman, and Hugh Grant, and it's still not legalized in Britain. He lit up a joint, so I fucking think he's cool as fuck. Yeah. And then this is before everyone had camera phones, and then he got kicked out, and we all cheered, and he sort of gave us a cheery old wave and fucking left. And I thought, that guy's all right, man. I have a lot of time for him.
I like About a Boy. He's funny in that. You don't think he's funny in any movie?
I really hated the movie. What's the Christmas one again?
Love Actually.
Oh, everyone hates
Yeah,
that.
it's terrible.
Yeah,
But not
there's
everybody
only-
hates that movie. Everybody loves
No.
that
My
movie. And I
wife loves
always,
it.
I know.
There's two camps. There's
I'm
two
always
camps.
fighting with people.
It's terrible.
It's a terrible movie.
Everybody in the movie is a horrible person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Look, I've
He's a rom-com guy.
and I like Richard Curtis. I like everything Richard Curtis, but I'm not.
It's known in the inner circles of my world that I'm into chick flicks, and you're saying rom-coms. That's more of a chick flick. And Love Actually is a pile of shit. Any of those ensemble movies, Mother's Day, New Year's Eve, I Love Actually, they're garbage because a lot of the stories just get left hanging. Mm-hmm. There's nothing going on. There's always like some moment that you're supposed to be like, oh, that's great. But yeah, watch him in
About a Boy,
Notting Hill. That's
Notting
a good
Hill.
one.
Yeah.
With him and Julia Roberts. That's a famous chick flick there. About a
very
Boy
good in
is
it.
very funny.
Yeah, About a Boy's good.
About a Boy is a funny movie.
Notting Hill's a good movie.
Yeah.
He's funny in the last Guy Ritchie film where he played the mobster. He's the best thing in that film.
Four Weddings and a Funeral.
It's a good movie.
And he's also good in Bridget Jones' Diary when he's kind of like the dickhead, I would say, or whatever. He's good. He's good in movies. He's funny.
Yeah,
but
he's funny.
Definitely About a Boy one.
I didn't like music and lyrics.
So you asked an icebreaker to find out more about us, and you asked for an opinion on Hugh Grant.
I thought it was a funny icebreaker.
I know about this person now. They think Hugh Grant's funny. Maha.
Look, it was supposed to spark discussion, and it worked.
did. Good work, Jack.
Oh, it did, yeah. It did.
Is that's all your segments?
Thomas, I might have sold him up the river. He might not know that people here, you smoked a joint once.
Yeah, he's
All right.
done.
I know,
Ad
let's read
time.
some ads.
All right, your mental health is as important, if not more important than your physical health, and everyone can see positive benefits from therapy. And you don't need to be going through something tragic for it to benefit you. You can fine-tune your mental health, or if you haven't been, don't let it get out of hand.
Honestly, it's best to do therapy before you have a tragic
don't let it get out of
situation.
hand. If you see depression creeping up on you or any other anxiety or something like that, get it fixed. Get it fixed. BetterHelp will assist your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help. It's a professional counseling done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in that shitty, uncomfortable fucking waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/IDK. That's better, HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp, they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the I Don't Know About That listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. Green Chef has a meal plan for every healthy lifestyle, keto, paleo, plant-based diets, or even if you just want to have a delicious but balanced meal. Green Chef's expert chefs curate every recipe with over 30 meal choices every week and the flexibility to switch plans. You'll never have to sacrifice taste for nutrition. You can enjoy restaurant-quality dishes in the comfort of your own home or someone else's home, but in a house. Enjoy new and nutritious recipes each week that are perfect for you and the whole family. Green Chef is the first USDA certified organic meal kit. That's pretty good. So you can enjoy hand-picked organic vegetables with premium proteins without having to worry about where they came from. Green Chef is also the most sustainable meals kit, offsetting 100% of their plastic use and 100% of their carbon footprint and emissions. Enjoy your greens while being green. They wrote that, but I enjoyed it.
You like that.
Avoid the long lines at the grocery store and get fresh premium ingredients delivered right to your door. And since Green Chef ingredients are pre-portioned, you'll actually be reducing food waste by at least 25%. Green Chef is also America's #1 meal kit for eating well, meaning they're the best meal kit whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, pescatarian, or you just want to eat more balanced meals. See, I don't eat pork now. I don't eat pork, but I live with a vegan who eats a little bit of fish, but she doesn't like to admit that because she thinks that people will come after her and denounce her. But yeah, she doesn't listen to the podcast. We're fine.
Who's coming after her?
I don't know. The bloody
fish.
Yeah, someone to slap her with a fish like a Monty Python sketch. But yeah, these meals, so if my wife wants a vegan meal, but I want something that's just pescatarian, or I want something that's keto or something, we can mix and mash our meals and have a good time. Forrest, I hear you eat the meals.
Yeah, I think I said before, here's a trick. If you want to impress people, have them over for a dinner party, but then cook Green Chef because you can take all the ingredients. You have to do a little bit of chopping here and there, and there's sauces, but you put everything in little bowls, and then you have these great meals. Like, it tastes amazing, and they tell you how to plate it too, so it looks good.
Yeah.
And you can send people over, and you're like,
Suddenly
"Hey, check
feel
this
like a
out.
chef.
Check out what I made." And you're like, "How'd you make the sauce?" Family secret. Can't tell you.
All right. Forrest likes it, so it must be good. Go to greenchef.com/I-don't-know-100. That's a different code. Use the code I-don't-know-100. Why would they put the 100 on the end? That seems weird to get, wait, fucking hell. Get $100 off, including free shipping.
Nah,
I think it's got to be $10.
Did you read that right?
No, it says it here. put I don't know 100 to get $100 off. They're going to fucking owe you money at the end of this. Okay, this is true. Go to go to greenchef.com/I don't know 100. It's highly encouraged to eat this food. It's the number one meal kit for eating well.
It is really good. And if you subscribe to Green Chef and you don't like it, you can publicly humiliate me.
Okay.
Ooh.
That means Twitter.
That's good motivation.
Oh, yeah.
Which people do anyway. So. All right, please welcome our guest today, Tim Brooks.
G'day, Tim. Now it's time to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
All right, Tim. Now I'm looking at where you're seated there. I would go out on a limb and say that Tim's an academic type of a fella. He has a lot of.
What gave it away?
Yeah, a lot of papers, a lot of or he's kept every receipt of all time. Like you can audit Tim all day, he'll fucking sort you out. He's got them all. Tim, so are you a professor, Tim?
No.
Do you work in the education field?
No.
Oh, okay. Have you written books?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Now you know what he does.
He's narrowed it down.
I'm looking to the left of you. You're a cap enthusiast. You got about 5 of them. I'm the same. Okay. Is your specialty history?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We're going. Is what we're about to talk about today involve war?
War. No.
No. Okay.
Not particularly.
I'll tell you this. Our last episode was on musical theater. The one before that was barbecue. You really hit a stride of stuff you like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is something you like a lot, and you may consider one of the best inventions ever.
You invented porn, did you, Tim?
I wish.
Okay, so it's something that I like, one of the best inventions ever.
You've said it. You said, I think you said that it's the best invention ever.
Sand. No, I'm a
breakfast sandwich machine.
Yeah, a breakfast sandwich. I'm a big fan of cars. I like cars.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
not
car?
cars.
We've done cars.
It's something that you always say, I won't have a bad word said about it. That's what you always follow.
Lisa Vanderpump.
Iodine. You invented iodine? You talk about iodine?
You use this every day.
Yeah. Oh, Imodium. That's what I meant to say, Imodium.
Tim Brooks is here to talk about the history of television.
I love television.
Shit.
I won't have a bad word said about bloody television. I'll tell you what about television. I've never met a person who doesn't have a television who isn't a complete dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have a TV. Yeah, it's all
I don't
right
even
now.
have a TV.
It's okay now because you have the internet and you
Right.
can have your iPad and your TV light.
Yeah.
Right? But the people who back in the day, in the 90s, were like, I gotta go home and read. Oh, God, fuck off. What are you doing? Watch the telly, man. I had a friend who I had to call them about 9/11 because like 2 days later, because I knew he was just sitting around his house. He was never going to find out if it wasn't for me.
All right. Well, Tim Brooks is here to talk about the history of television in the United States. Tim Brooks is a historian, author, and media executive specializing in media research and the history of media in the United States. He is regarded as one of the television's leading historians. He has a master's in TV and radio from Syracuse University, and he writes a lot of books, as he said. So I do read some books, too. His latest book is The Blackface Minstrel Show in Mass Media, 20th Century Performances on Radio, Records, Film, and Television. And then you do have a book called The Complete Directory to Primetime Network and Cable TV Shows, 1946 to the Present. Is that updated to now, or where does that go to?
That's over my shoulder here. There's 9 editions of it.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
And the last one was in 2008.
Okay.
When something called Wikipedia or IMDb took over, basically.
With all their
Those
knowledge.
bastards.
Internet. But if you want more information on Tim or any of the books he's written, there's a whole long list of books that he's written. Go to timbrooks.net for all the information on Tim and any books that you want to buy. So, tell us a little bit about, tell us how you got here. How did you get to a point where you are an expert in the history of television? And
I was a rock and roll kid back in the day.
Mm.
And so when I went to college, I made a beeline for the radio station. They had a very good radio station at my college. I became the head of the record library and immersed in that kind of world. And that led me to want to go into broadcasting. I was going to go into radio, but I found that the people in radio tend to have careers stuck in little podunk towns and rarely seem to advance anywhere. So I got into television instead. And television fascinated me. And I, in addition to being eventually an executive in television, and by the way, I'm responsible for any show that you like. I had nothing to do with the shows that you don't. So please don't blame me for any of those.
Yeah, when I was looking at your
shows.
all the resume of all the things you've done, it's like you've been everywhere in television, basically, networks.
Well,
yeah.
One of these caps is the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot to do with the launch of the Sci-Fi Channel, which was an offshoot of USA Network. And I got a lot of caps from TV shows.
What's that other cap there? What's that one?
I got a lot of Jim Jeffries merchandise. Jim Jeffries show merchandise if you ever want it, mate.
What's this one say?
Well,
Northern Exposure.
Northern Exposure. I used to love Northern Exposure. Picket fences. Yeah, that was a popular one. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I love the telly, man. I love the telly. And you know what? It's been my mistress for years, the TV, and I've been hurt by it personally. I've had shows cancelled and shows never picking up, but I always forgive it.
All right,
I love your TV.
What do you think of this one?
Oh, the Nelson ratings, they're a bunch of bullshit, aren't they?
Nielsen.
They don't work. We're meant to think that we're all meant to be judged by someone who's getting $50 a week to have a box on top of their thing, and that represents all of us. Get the fuck out of here.
So Tim, I'm going to ask Jim a few questions about like the history of TV in general, but we're going to talk about some television shows too, and we'll see how Jim does. And I'm sure Jim's going to have some of his own questions too because he loves TV so much. And then you're going to rate him 0 through 10. 10 is the best score of him answering these questions on accuracy. Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. We'll add them all together. If you get 21 through 30 points, you're TV. 11 through 20, TBD. 0 through 10, VD. You don't want 0 through 10. You don't want that. Trust me.
Okay.
When was TV invented?
Okay, it was invented by a guy with a second name Logie. And I know that because the Australian TV awards are called the Logies, and that's because it was named after the bloke. I'm going to say it was the early 50s, and I'm only going on that because Australia got TV for the first time. We got it rushed through. I think it was already in other countries, but we got it rushed through because we had the Olympics in Melbourne in the early 1950s, maybe 1954. I might be wrong, 52, 54, something like that. So I'm going to assume it was invented. Okay, so do you want it when it was invented or when we first got them?
Say whatever you want.
All right, so I'll say it was invented in 1949 and then the world got them in 1952.
All right, what is a mechanical television?
Mechanical TV is where you go up and you got to turn the knob to change the channel. I'll do the stand-up routine that everyone's heard. We didn't have remotes when I was a kid. I was the remote. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, there's always...
When was the first electronic television invented? That was a mechanical television. So you're saying
So you're saying, all right, so mechanical TV where it was like, it still had like a vertical hold and an antenna.
I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you.
Okay, and it still had a TV screen that had to warm up, like when it came, and then the vertical hold could go. I would say the first like LED television.
Electronic television.
Electronic television. I'm going to say 1994.
And then you kind of touched on this. When did the first television stations start appearing in America? I guess maybe you can say.
I'll say 1952.
And when was the public able to purchase television sets for the homes? You said 52. 52. What about color TV? When did that happen?
Color TV. Okay, so you got to start thinking with color TV. Because I remember watching like Gidget when I was a kid. Not that I'm that old, but they used to show that in the morning and stuff like that. And I watched the history of TV on CNN, and I remember seeing the thing with Sally Field going, watch Gidget now in bright color. And there'd be episodes, because there was TV shows that I watched that were black and white that morphed into color.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the color television in its sort of just like where it became, because we had a black and white TV in the 70s. I would say that very rich people could have had a color television in 1974.
Okay. And then the laugh track. When did that start and how did that come about?
The laugh track, oh golly, I think that might have been there from the beginning, because that might have come from radio plays. And the radio plays probably had laugh tracks. And I'm trying to think back to like listening to the Goon Show or my dad's old records, and where the Goon Show had a laugh track, and that was sort of in the 60s. So I'm going to say in the 1960s that came out, and it would have come from radio plays.
Okay. And did commercials always exist in television?
I bet you that commercials didn't already exist. I bet you it started with product placement, because then it became the Colgate Comedy Hour and stuff like that. So so they'd go, come and watch thing brought to you by Brill Wipes. Brill Wipes, the best thing. So I believe product placement was before commercials, and then commercials came in after that. And a product placement would have been pretty quick. As with everything, it's like when you invent something, they go, oh, this will be good to give people news, and then a little bit of entertainment. It always starts off as a news thing, and then entertainment, and then sport comes in, and then, off you go.
What are minstrel shows?
Minstrel shows.
You didn't invent them. You can say what
it's
they
where
are.
people, Al Jolson and stuff like that, they put on blackface and they sing things like Mammy and stuff like that. It seems like an odd choice to do, but that was.
We'll talk about it a little bit. That was Tim's latest book that he wrote was touched on that. So cable television, when that came around, like you had your networks and.
Well, I'll tell you what, cable TV didn't come around to Australia until the 90s.
We're talking about the US mostly.
No, I just want to say this as a point. So in Australia, we had the 90s. Before that, and really even still now in Australia, it's 4 main channels. 7, 9, 10, and 2. Right. And so we had these 4 channels, and we used to hear about America and how they had 40 channels and stuff like that. And we thought that must be a fucking cracking place to live. And now that I have 300 and something channels, it doesn't help your life out at all. It doesn't make any difference. It actually makes everything watered down ever so slightly. But I would say cable TV came in America in the late 80s. I'll say 1987 came into America, and then we didn't get it for another 10 years, or maybe another 6 years in Australia.
I'm trying to think too. I want to guess it was like the early 80s, because I remember my grandmother had it, and she had that thing where you had the 3 switches. You had to switch top, middle, bottom, and then you'd press a button, and then it had a sticker with it. I don't even know what that was.
I saw like the history of TV. I can't quite remember, but I remember like ESPN started off as a regional thing, and the guy just had the biggest satellite, and that's how it sort of spread across the country. And it was just doing stuff like fucking beer pong and stuff like that, and then
What was considered the golden age of television?
The golden age of television, I will say from 1965 to 1975.
Okay. I Love Lucy ranked number 1 for how many of its first 6 seasons?
I don't believe it was a hit right away. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Probably it was. I'm going to say it ranked number 1 for 5 of its 6 seasons.
What is Vaudio?
Vaudio.
VAUDEO.
That would be visual audio.
Okay.
And so I'd say that was like, it's like asking what's THX. It's when someone went, I can match up the sound to the thing.
Is. Who was the first president to appear on television?
Okay, so the first presidential debate that was aired live was Nixon versus Kennedy. And a lot of people think that Nixon didn't win because he had a bit of sweat on his upper lip, right? And because they were like, I can't vote for that person. That person's not presidential. Then we have a guy go, grab him by the pussy. And we're like, yeah,
he's my man.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy. And then it's like, fuck off, old sweaty lip.
He was president eventually. He made it.
Yeah, so it would have been the president before Kennedy, who was Lyndon Johnson was after Kennedy.
George Washington? Is that
whoever the guy was before Kennedy, the one before Kennedy.
Okay. What is the FCC?
I was both right and stupid at the same time.
What is the FCC?
The FCC is probably the standards and practicing people that people write letters and they say, oh, that's not good, and they intervene if we're all carrying on like pork chops on the telly.
All right. Name a popular show in each of these decades.
Okay.
We'll start easy. 90s.
Friends.
80s.
In the 1980s, the A-Team was a very popular show in the 1980s. I can give you 1,000 in 1980s.
70s.
In the 70s, the Brady Bunch was a popular show in the 1970s.
Okay.
Late 60s, early 70s.
The 60s.
60s, I think I Love Lucy was still probably going strong there. Yeah.
What about the 50s?
The 50s, all right. I'll move I Love Lucy to the 50s, and then into the 70s, I'll give you a bit of
60s.
fucking Beverly Hills hillbillies for the 70s.
The 60s, you mean?
The 60s, yeah.
The 60s of Beverly Hillbillies?
Yeah.
All right. Could have said the Munsters.
Well, there's loads. The Addams Family, the Munsters, and stuff like that. I'll tell you this: the Ed, wherever the Beatles were on. What's that guy who?
Ed Sullivan.
How the fuck did that cunt host anything? It's like he was your most popular. He had 3 channels, and a guy was like, "We got a really big show," and it's like, "That's your top guy." Like, just shop around a bit.
Couple more questions, and you can feel free to ask any questions that you want to. Sure. Talk. Have TV shows become more or less political?
I would believe they've become substantially more political in the sense, well, our news has definitely become more political.
I don't know if that includes news. I didn't write these questions. I don't know.
There was always things where they dealt with class, and if you watch, so the most popular sitcom in the 70s was MASH, right? We'll put that in the 70s, right? MASH
That's what I thought you were going to say.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I was watching MASH yesterday.
I thought that MASH was the 80s, though.
No, MASH was 77. You're in about season 6, and then it just ducked into the 80s for the final episode, which was the most watched thing at the time on television.
Okay.
But MASH was holding a mirror
That's
up
pretty
to
political, MASH.
holding a mirror up to the Vietnam War, and whilst being in the Korean War. So you could say that's pretty. And then you could say,
well, think about that. I haven't seen any TV shows about any wars.
Yeah. So maybe you're right. Maybe because they also dealt with. So you had white families on TV, and then you had like the Jeffersons, and then you had Good Times, that sort of stuff. And people like the Jeffersons because Norman Lear had the Black Panthers came and saw him, and they said we're sick and tired of seeing black families on TV who are only poor. We want to see a family doing well, and that's why the Jeffersons were made. And then obviously the Cosby Show was another thing. Also, they never. But that's more. I guess race is a political thing. I guess So,
all right, so we didn't answer that question.
No,
we'll talk about it.
I'll say they were more societally driven back in the day than they are now.
This is a question from Tim. Have you ever heard of the television show The Laytons?
The Laytons. It may not have gotten to Australia. I don't know. I've never heard of the Laytons.
Okay. Then
I don't mean that as a serious thing.
It doesn't. It's okay if you haven't.
And this
heard
is
of it.
a question for everybody listening too, because Tim wants to know if people have heard of the Laytons. So let us know if you have in the comments.
But you have to understand that when you grew up in Australia, you have to understand it. When you grew up in Australia, it's not like growing up in Australia now, where you go, we got cable and that type of stuff. I didn't know what Saturday Night Live was, so I just saw Wayne's World as its own thing, right? We never got an HBO comedy special, so we only ever had our local comedians. The first long special I saw was Eddie Murphy bringing out a Betamax video of Delirious, right? So there's things that we just culturally missed out on. I never saw a late night Tonight Show or anything like that.
You're reading into that question wrong. I think Tim just wants to know if we've heard of it. Like,
I've never heard of the Laytons, but it may not have gotten to Australia as well.
I don't think anyone's heard of it here, so we'll get to it. All right, how did Jim do in his knowledge of history of television?
I think I got some years wrong.
You want a rating from 1 to 10?
0 to 10. 10's the best. Yep.
Well, I want to be generous, so I would say 2.
All right.
Wow.
That was a total misdirect. I was like, no, don't be generous.
That's a Nielsen rating of 1.
Holy shit.
He was very good on the shows by decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty much everything else is off by 10 years, 30 years, here or there.
Okay.
And I understand you grew up on a different continent.
Yeah.
You missed 2 of the 3 inventors of television, but you kept the Scotsman.
Yeah, Logie.
Logie.
Oh, Logie.
Logie.
How do you do in confidence?
Probably 4.
Wow, 6.
I thought I was pretty confident.
I thought he was really confident. I was like, damn, he's nailing this.
I could tell that he was like just saying things. Like,
look, I'm an appreciator of TV. I'm not it's like I like cars. I don't build the fucking things.
Yeah. Jim, I don't want you to have VD, so I'm going to give you a 6. So you're TVD.
All right. Yeah. When was the last time you got rewarded for brushing your teeth? I can't even think of the last time I brushed my teeth. With Quip Smart Electric Toothbrush.
I hope you did.
With Quip Smart Electric Toothbrush, good habits can earn you great perks like free products, gift cards, and more. You've probably heard us talk about Quip a million times. It's the first time we've done the ad.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
If you hang out with us, we're always talking about it. But on the radio, on the pod world, the cast. But this is something brand new that rewards you and your mouth.
This is, especially for parents, I think this is really cool. So basically what Quip does is it connects to your Bluetooth. So every time you brush, it'll tell you how long you brushed, what your intensity was, all that stuff. But you get points for every time you brush. And that can then go to free gift cards or products or whatever.
You get ice cream.
You can get ice cream. But for kids especially,
again.
like kids love points and rewards and all of that stuff. So if you have kids, get a Quip for sure.
Yeah, it says here, it connects to your Bluetooth, track how well you brush,
Sounds familiar.
get tips and coaching to improve your habits,
Like,
earn
hey,
points,
brush your teeth, shithead.
and bonus points, and there's challenges like streaks. It's like,
now you can brush your teeth, Jim.
yeah, I've broken some streaks every day. Get the fuck out of here.
No, I'll tell you what is good about Quip because we got a couple of Quips. I have another electric toothbrush that I used to use, and when you try to travel with it, like it turns on and off, and then the battery runs out.
And you have to bring that whole charging case.
And you got to take the thing off. This has a little case.
It comes in a lovely case.
And you just slide it in and you put it in.
And it sticks to the mirror.
Did
you know that? Yeah, it sticks to the mirror.
Get the fuck out
I
of here.
like that part.
Holy crap.
I haven't stuck mine to the mirror yet.
Yeah.
Have you already got Quip? Upgrade it with a smart motor and keep the features you know and love. Beyond the brush, Quip has everything you need to build a complete routine. They've got mint and watermelon toothpaste with anti-cavity ingredients for strong, healthy teeth. Floss that expands to clean.
Yeah, okay, you're just saying words now.
No, floss that expands to clean. This is floss technology that you haven't fucking seen.
Yeah, wow.
And comes in a refillable dispenser to reduce waste. You know this about me, Jack. What do I hate?
Waste.
I hate waste.
I'm going to try that watermelon toothpaste.
Yeah.
I got toothpaste for Arnie, and it doesn't smell good. I'll tell you that much. And then someone told me.
For a dog,
I
man.
know. I didn't really think about that. Some people were like, dogs don't like mint. I go, yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah. It's flavored like bacon.
It's like chicken toothpaste. It's like,
Refillable sugar-free gum in a one-click dispenser that delivers long-lasting mint flavor, freshens breath, and can help prevent cavities. Refillable mouthwash that's good for you and the planet.
Oh.
In addition to brush heads, Quip also delivers fresh floss, toothpaste, mouthwash, and gum refills every 3 months for $5. Come on, you're going to smell good. You're going to have some money in your back pocket. Shipping is free, so you can save money and skip the hustle and bustle of the in-store shopping.
put the money in your front pocket.
Yeah, oh, well, I'm a good fighter. I'm not. Join over 5 million mouths that use Quip and save hundreds of dollars compared to other Bluetooth brushes. Junk they are. Junk, the other ones. When you get a Quip Smart Brush for just $45.
What?
How can you afford not to go?
I would have assumed it was way more. Like, this is dead serious. I would have assumed it was way more.
$160 toothbrush.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
It's like
the other ones
sleek. It's
Beautiful.
They're like rubber bristles.
Damn.
They're good.
Start getting rewards for brushing your teeth today. Go to getquip.com/I-don't-know right now and save $10 on a Quip Smart Electronic Toothbrush. That's $10 off your smart electronic toothbrush at getquip.com/I-don't-know. That's getquip.com/I-don't-know. Quip, the good habits company.
It's Peacocktober. This month, stream all your Halloween favorites. Watch the new movie Halloween Kills in theaters and streaming only on Peacock October 15th. The biggest names in horror like Freddy, Jason, Chucky, and more streaming now. Face your fears this Peacocktober. Sign up now at peacocktv.com.
All right. So then, when was TV invented, and by who? I guess because Jim said Logie in the early 50s.
It's usually credited to three people. It was different pieces of it were developed by different scientists. Basically, they all competed with each other too. Vladimir Zworykin, who was a Russian immigrant to the United States, got the first patent in 1923 for essentially the TV camera. But there was this farm boy from the Midwest who was only a teenager at the time, named Philo Farnsworth, who was his great rival. And over the years, it used to be Zworykin up here is the great inventor, and Philo is kind of the little dog nipping at his heels. It's kind of reversed over the years because we like the little guy, who takes down the big guy. So Philo Farnsworth and Vladimir Zworykin, and the third one is usually your boy, John Logie Baird.
And Logie just invented, make it into a box.
Well, two of them have really cool names. I mean, Philo Farnsworth, John Logie Baird. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Did you know the awards in Australia were called the Logies?
Yes.
That's the only one I know. It's a very piss weak award show, but I hope to win one day, so I won't say anything.
Wait, it's John Logie Baird?
Baird, B-A-I-R-D.
Oh, Baird.
Baird.
Yeah.
Do you think Yogi Bear was named after Logie Baird?
No, Baird.
I don't
Good
think
question.
so. I think Yogi Berra had more to do with that.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many people with that name. It seems a bit stupid.
Too many.
You think you're being original. I've got a good name here. No one will ever have this one. Logie Bearer.
And so they invented it. They came up with the actual television, right? So,
Well, there were antecedents back in the 1800s, but yeah, it really started to come together in the 1920s, basically. But the TVs at that time, transmitted a shadow. One of them just transmitted a straight line across the middle of the screen. Can you imagine sitting at home, turning on your TV, and all you get is a straight line across the middle of the screen?
Did you get audio or anything, or was it just a straight line and people that blew their minds?
probably, yeah.
No, it was radio with pictures because they knew about radio then. In the 30s, and there's a lot in the press about TV's coming. Well, the Depression came instead. And so not much happened during the 30s until the very end of the decade. The first president on TV, incumbent president, was Franklin Roosevelt in 1939 at the World's Fair.
I was way out.
So we're a little bit off there.
You were very confident on that one. You're like, I got that one right.
Very confident with the guy before Kennedy.
I'm saying to the masses, right? He's
the
saying
World's Fair.
Roosevelt was on one TV where they all went, ooh. They all had to show up and buy tickets to fucking see him on TV. Like, no, regular telly.
It was about to take off, actually, in 1939. That's when you had the first regular broadcast. But then we got occupied in something else called World War II. So that put a stop to everything for a while.
Were there people who pushed against the television that we don't need this technology, it's stupid?
Yeah.
There were always people like that,
Yeah.
always people like that. But there was a lot of enthusiasm because it was seen as an extension of radio, and they all knew what radio
And were people
was.
worried it would rot the children's minds? Because I have a child now, and I remember when I was young, you're watching too much TV. I reprimand my son now. You don't need to have 3 devices on. 2
is plenty.
Let me switch his iPad. He'll be watching something on his iPad, he's switching his own show up there, and I'm like, and then I get him down to just watching telly. I'm like, oh, good parenting.
And people wonder, they're always like, and now everybody has ADHD. This is a scam. It's like, well, we've all been I'm sure TV and internet and all that stuff had a lot to do with that. Just concentration.
Sure. But they would have pushed back against the radio, going, you listen to that rubbish, it'll rot your mind.
Why listen when you can read?
Yeah, I used to like it back in the day when you were listening to the baseball. There's just that bit of ticker tape that came through. You go, oh, that was good.
There was more pushback
thrilling.
against radio, actually, when it started in the early 1920s, as being it's going to rot minds and things like that. But TV was by the time TV came along, they'd already accepted radio. So it was going to be the better form of radio. And they thought it was going to be educational and stuff. That didn't turn out to be true.
I pushed back against the curved TV. Remember that 8 years ago when we were all getting these TVs that came out of your wall and curved, and we were told it was better and all that kind of
because
stuff?
you could see it from any angle and it looks the same.
Fuck off curved TV. We had to go. Same with 3D TV. We don't want you in our home.
What is okay? So the 30s, the television, and then what is a mechanical television?
The very first TV sets had mechanical parts. They had like a spinning disc inside the TV set, going around real fast. And the disc had little pinholes in it. And because of the way it spun, and I don't want to be overly technical on this, it would pick up different parts of the picture. It had to be synchronized perfectly with another spinning disc in your TV set, 50 miles away, spinning too. That obviously didn't work too well. And so electronic TV, which is all electronic, came along just a few years later in the late 20s.
Oh, we used to have the antenna on top of the television. We used to have to adjust
rabbit
it.
ears,
And then you'd have one, but don't move. It was the fucking shit, man. You had to fight for your viewing. You felt
had to really want
and at
it.
the end of it, you felt like you earned it.
So mechanical TV, the electronic TV came in the 20s is what you're saying. That's when
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Did you have to wind it up or anything? Or like, I'm serious, was it like a
that
watch?
was the record? That was the record players you had to wind up.
Okay, yeah.
No, not the TVs.
But still, it had to be synchronized with a master TV, the mechanical one you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Is that like...
Yeah, the broadcasting disc and the receiving disc all had to be, it didn't work too well. They actually made those up until the 40s. CBS stayed out of network broadcasting because they were trying to push mechanical TV as late as 1948. And RCA, NBC, was pushing the electronic version of it. And NBC did something very smart. They said, okay, we've got this competing system. CBS is a big company. They're pushing their system. What can we do to make people flock over to ours? I know. We'll put the World Series on television.
Oh, yeah.
In 1947 was the first World Series, and it was on NBC. Everybody rushed out to their dealers. They want to get a set. And CBS said, "Uh-oh, game over."
Yeah, you know what job doesn't exist anymore? TV repair guy. When I was a kid, there was a bloke that used to come over once a month and put a new bulb or some shit in there and open up the back. And as a kid, I was fascinated because he'd open it up and all the wires and stuff. But I don't think there's anyone who does that
They still
anymore.
have those shops like in random strip malls that it's like vacuum repair or like VCR repair. And I'm like, are these money laundering like companies? Because I don't understand.
They also change watch batteries.
It's just like it doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of business there.
I've always thought that's a weird job. Is like the guy who cuts keys also fixes shoes and changes watch batteries. they're the Yamaha of small
Jack of all
stores.
trades.
He probably just kept having to expand.
Yeah, so
There's a whole world of people who fix old TVs or collectors of old TVs, and they largely use original tubes which haven't been used yet.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, it's getting harder and harder to fix old TVs because they're running out of tubes, basically.
Right.
yeah, I have I just got the biggest TV I've ever owned, and I can carry it by myself, no problem. It's a huge TV, and I used to have a 32-inch tube TV, and to pick that up was like you needed a friend to get that. You pick it up, it was just like
A forklift.
weighed so much. And
That's why I never had one of those.
Yeah, and it cost a lot too. So I imagine those first TVs cost a lot in the 40s. And
Oh yeah, and you know what the first big screen TV was? How big the screen was?
20 inches.
No, about 10 actually.
10 inches.
That's
Holy
huge.
Big screen, big
Whoa,
screen.
that's like a movie theater.
That's what I thought.
It's like you're in there. Whoa, the sound.
wow.
Wow.
When did the first television station start appearing in America? Jim said 1952. So.
Well, he's off by a couple generations there. There were experimental stations starting in the early 30s and commercial stations starting in 1941.
Okay.
But it was So I heard that Australia was one of the first countries to get it because of the Olympics in the 50s. Did I just hear that wrong, or is Australia like the last place to get it?
More toward the latter, I think. The BBC in England was like 1936. And they were broadcasting before World War II.
That's what they told you in Australia.
Yeah, Australia just thought they were first.
We couldn't find out. We had no TV.
No internet. You guys are the first ones.
We didn't know airplane travel wasn't even happening for the masses. We had to get on a boat for 2 weeks to find out, what the fuck?
We can fly.
You got on a boat, you went to go, we got TV. Yeah, we've had that for 40
We
years.
still haven't told New Zealand about TV.
Yeah, that's funny. And so the public was able to purchase television sets for their homes. Jim said 52, so he was off on that as well, right? That was...
Yeah, 1938 was that first Dumont set. Do you ever hear of the Dumont television network?
No.
That was the fourth network in the 1940s and 50s. Wow. CBS, NBC, ABC, which was struggling, and Dumont.
And so what was one of these 10-inch screens, these big mega TVs, what did they cost in today's money ballpark?
Oh, probably $1,000 maybe.
Okay. I thought they were going to be more expensive because I remember TVs have come down so much in price now. But I remember the first time I got a big flat screen type of TV, it cost me in today's money maybe $15,000. You know what I mean? Like I got when I got my first like on the wall plasma,
like a big Pioneer.
Yeah.
No, the reason people didn't buy them was because there was nothing to watch. I mean, the stations weren't up yet.
It's a lie.
Regular series like your series weren't on yet. I mean, they got to wait for you, right?
Yeah, that's why legit got no ratings.
Just ahead of its time.
It was before it was on 1939, and it was in color. It just people couldn't see it how it was meant to be seen. Widescreen, but half of me wasn't on the screen at all.
That's it. And then color television, Jim says 1974. What was that?
Well, actually, your friend John Logie Baird introduced color television in 1928, I believe. But again, it didn't work too well. And it went to the masses in the early 50s and then built up until the mid 60s when it became universal.
But it didn't seem, were there many TV shows that were in color in the early 50s?
Oh, anybody who grew up in America in those years remembers Bonanza, the Western,
Bonanza,
which would always open with this peacock saying, the following program is brought to you in living color by NBC. And the peacock would open with all the colors on its thing.
Yeah. In living color.
Bong, bong, bong.
Yeah, so then so you'd be watching TV and then your one show would be in color and the next one would be in black and white.
It's funny. It's like, I always think like, how did that blow anyone's mind? Of course, that was the progression. Eventually it would be in color and we'd watch it like that. But I'll tell you what, I sold mobile phones for years after leaving school and before becoming a comedian. It was my part-time job I always went back to. And I worked with this bloke and he sold mobile phones and we had, Siemens brought out a phone that had color. Right, it was just color font. You could change it to pink, your font or whatever. Like that. Everything before that was green type of font, or gray. And
in the 1950s, they would sell you a little transparent screen you could put over your screen that would turn everything green or blue and say color TV.
Pick your favorite color.
But this is the guy said to me, he goes, eventually, we'll just be watching our televisions on our phone. And I thought, this guy's out of his fucking mind.
And that guy was Steve Jobs.
No, a fella called Yudi. He was all right.
Yeah, he created Quibi.
Yeah.
Yudi's Quibi.
He's funny, a little joke, but his name was Yudi. And I used to listen to him on the phone next to me all the time. And he used to go, when you come into the store, my name's Yudi, spelt Y-U-D-Y, right? And I used to look at him and go, why, Yudi? Why? That was a bit of fun. He didn't get it.
The laugh track. Jim said that might have been there from the beginning because it came from radio, possibly in the 60s. Like, how did that come about? When was it?
One of your predecessors as a comic was a guy named Hank McCune. I bet you've never heard of him. But in the early,
is he still gigging?
I doubt it. In the early 50s, he had a show called, naturally, the Hank McCune Show, and it had a laugh track, meaning a pre-recorded track of the audience laughing. 1950, the year 1950.
Right, but we had on the Jim Jeffrey Show, we had people laughing at that. There was an actual studio audience. We always got accused constantly. Of adding a laugh track. All those laughs were 100% genuine. They were sitting in the crowd. And so when did they start bringing in live audiences to watch TV shows, or was that from day one?
From day one, basically. And the problem was that the audiences would get so into the show and so loud that people would think it was being amplified or something like that. I think Norman Lear actually had his microphones above the audience on some kind of a boom so he could raise it further away from the audience as the show went on. So, it would be further away from these people who are in hysterics at the show he was putting on.
I've met Norman Lear. I've had lunch with Norman Lear before. He's a very nice man and like obviously a Mount Rushmore of television.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy. But like a lot of his shows were just, okay, so when you got the British office, the American office, right? Did you, as Americans, know that you were often getting given shows that were just remakes, like so Stanford and Son versus Stepso and Son, Till Death Do Us Part, Archie Bunker? Did you know that these were shows that were brought across? Because with the internet now, everyone knows sitcoms from other countries. Or was that just sold to the American public as this is a new idea?
The public has no idea.
Right.
Critics know, people into television know in the inside, but no, the public neither knows nor cares.
Now, this is the thing with TV networks, right? So TV networks all throughout time, they're very unoriginal people. So if there's one idea, they do another idea. So you have the Addams Family, then you go, you have to have the Munsters, right? You have Petticoat Junction, we'll have the Beverly Hillbillies. Right up until the 80s when they had different strokes and they had a small African-American child who couldn't grow anymore. And then some TV executive goes, find me one of those and we get Webster. Like, fuck me. Like the most unoriginal people in the world, TV executives.
Webster's still alive, though. He lasted.
Oh, is he?
Standing the test of time, Emmanuel Lewis.
Someone give fucking Webster a new show. That guy, everyone likes a comeback.
Yeah.
Hashtag Webster new show. Don't make it Webster because they just put out a Punky Brewster show and it's like, well, people don't remember Punky Brewster as much,
No, Jim gets a 10 on that one. That's exactly how it works inside the networks.
This is working, duplicated a million times.
Yeah. But that one, the Webster Gary Coleman one, that's like, wow. Wow.
You're not even trying to hide it.
Wow.
Did commercials always exist? Jim says started with product placement, Colgate Comedy Hour and stuff. So you're saying they did always exist, or did they always exist in television?
No, the first commercial station, that is, with commercials on it, was 1941. It's a special license. And they had commercials. They were done live, usually on the shows. And sometimes, Arthur Godfrey and his Lipton tea or something, he'd go on for 2 or 3 minutes about how wonderful this tea was. And that wasn't a very efficient use of time. So eventually they started filming commercials and making them shorter.
But it did seem like, especially on American TV, when you watch the old footage, like Captain Kangaroo, brought to you by, and they did all that type of stuff. But I remember being a kid in Australia and the adverts were like this. Marlboro cigarettes. Like,
want to look cool as fuck?
It's like, it was on the, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the ad agencies actually produced some of the shows. My favorite was the Gas Company Playhouse. How'd you like to watch that?
What was that?
What's that smell?
Yeah.
Why is mom and dad passed out?
I've mentioned this before. I reckon that the biggest failure on TV, and I've mentioned this on other things, and if you want to Google it when you get home, and you may not have seen this, mate, but check this out. It's on the internet. It was on after Dad's Army. The BBC commissioned this. It had one episode and then it was pulled from the air. It was a multicam sitcom called Heil Honey, I'm Home.
Oh, yeah. You told me to look that up.
Yeah, and it was a sitcom about Hitler living next door to a Jewish family.
It's the honeymooners.
Yeah, it's the honeymooners.
Basically.
And he came in the store and he went, "Heil, honey, I'm home," like that, right? And then Ava Brown was like this, "Oh, Hitler, you'll be the death of me," like this, right? "Oh, the Rubensteins next door, why are you order?" Like that. It's worth a watch. It's the only, it's one of those TV things where you go, and my sitcom couldn't get made. Yeah. I couldn't get the Jeffrey Show on the fucking air. It couldn't get made.
You were born in the wrong time.
Someone made Heil, honey, I'm home.
Watching it, it's like they know exactly what to do. It's a very self-aware show. But you're like, yeah, I don't think this works.
Have you ever seen Heil, honey, I'm home?
Yeah, I did actually. I think on YouTube. I had nothing to do with it.
And the ad thing is funny too, because I mean, just literally a couple days ago, somebody wrote to me, like, too many fucking ads they wrote on for our podcast.
Oh, we're the easiest thing to fast forward through ever.
And I also was like, well, how do you want us to pay for this thing?
Yeah. This costs a lot of money for us to put on.
We break even on this podcast. Those ad reads are just a bit of fun.
We've been doing this for a year and a half.
Look,
we've made about a couple thousand.
I put my best effort in to make them entertaining. I know that discount's the right discount. I'm being silly.
What are minstrel shows? Yeah, you can talk about that.
What, did I not get that right?
No, I think you did, where people put on blackface and sing things like Mammy, Al Jolson. That's what Jim.
Yeah, the minstrel show actually started in the 1840s on stage. And what it was a group of actors on the stage, maybe 10. Later on, there could be 40 or 50, all on the stage at once, all sitting in little seats, all holding tambourines and laughing. And people would come up out of that group and sing a song, sit down, usually an upbeat song, or tell jokes. And the principal joke tellers were the two that were seated on the ends of this line of actors. They were called the end men. And they're the ones that usually wore blackface, white actors with black makeup on, imitating African Americans and portraying them pretty negatively. Although it was never a political show. It's interesting about that.
Why did they do that? Was it just seen as that was entertaining, or you said there's no political basis behind it? So I'm trying to put my mind into the 1940s or the 1920s or whatever. Like, okay, so what was the impetus for doing the blackface? They just thought it was funny?
Put your mind in the 1840s.
Okay, all right. Ooh,
the 1840s.
Oh, okay.
Most people, most white people had never met a black man. They lived in the North or something like that, or they were the other. They were either slaves or they were in their own communities and things like that. So they were a kind of a exotic other, so to speak.
Right.
And some of them were well educated, but a lot of them weren't because they couldn't go to school. They, if they're slaves, they couldn't read or write or something, that kind of thing. So it was like taking an other. It could be a Chinese person, or it could be an Italian, almost any immigrant group. But blackface had been something used on stage before. I mean, Othello. I mean, Shakespeare used blackface in his plays. So it was this exotic person basically telling the jokes, a comic exotic person. And I don't mean that it wasn't racist. It was, obviously.
But it was of its time, and they didn't see.
Yeah, in fact,
Halloween must have been a doozy back then.
There's a book about this written about 20 years ago called Love and Theft. Not my book, it's somebody else wrote it. And I remember somebody picking it up and saying, I get the theft, what's the love? In a minstrel show. Well, the love was the fact that these were the first people, these actors and producers were the first people to actually go out and listen to African-American music and import that onto the stage in front of a big audience. Before that, you'd never see a black on stage. There was no career for them. There was no chance for them to do anything. So what happened? Blacks started putting on their own minstrel shows. And there was a whole wave of shows put on by authentic African Americans using this format that had been accepted by them. And that led to Bessie Smith and all the jazz people of the 20s and 30s.
And it feels like up until recently, that was still kind of the case where any minority group that was portrayed on TV or movies was portrayed as this caricature of what white people assumed they would be like. And so I think we were talking yesterday about representation and why it matters so much to get those minority groups into the writer's room and creating and doing all of that stuff, because their stories are so much more full than this one role that they've played throughout history.
Also,
the Irish, Jews, I mean, any minority group was lampooned mercilessly.
Right.
Back in the 1800s.
Was that because the Irish are stupid?
That's what they thought. But then they all became policemen, and you got to respect them.
Do you have to?
Back then, yeah.
Cable television, Jim said late 80s, 1987.
Okay, a quick question before that. What's the difference between cable TV and satellite TV? Because I'll bring up Australia again. I assume the reason that we didn't get TV programs is because they were all on film and we had to get the film delivered to us before you could put it on the actual television, But, so you got like Elvis Presley does Hawaii, and that was like the first thing where it was satellite and you're going to stream it and you're all going to see it in real time all at once and that type of stuff. So is satellite just direct and cable and actually involves cables? And then answer Forrest's question as well.
Yes. Basically, cable is a physical cable that comes into your home. This little thing that comes through the wall, you plug your TV into that and voila, you get all these channels. Satellite means you got to have a dish on top of your home, pointed up to the sky at the right place, and you're getting the signal from there.
So how did people get Elvis then back then? They didn't have satellites on their TV. So there's some bigger satellite got it, then it went through the cable and then it got to us?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Technology.
It went over NBC, I think, on their traditional network. and other networks in other countries, probably even Australia. Did it on 7 is your big network, and
7, 9, and 10 are the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a deal with one of them right now. So
why wouldn't it just be 1, 2, 3?
We don't need your kind coming over to Australia and saying stupid things like that.
Yeah. Now, cable TV started as community antenna TV in the 50s because people, put their rabbit ears up or their antenna on their roof and they couldn't get a signal. They were too far away from the city. So people started, businessmen, local TV dealers sometimes started running cables from an antenna on the top of the mountain or the nearest hill down into the town and selling that. So it's just a way to get a signal, basically.
People have always wanted to see other cultures and talk to it. I had a cousin, and he's still alive. And I have my cousin Paul, and he had a CB radio in his bedroom. And I thought, that guy's fucking connected, man. And he's like 16, he'd go back to his room and go, hey, breaker, and talk to some trucker for 20 minutes. And I thought, that guy's living.
Yeah. What was considered the golden age of television? Jim said 65 to 75.
Oh, perfect. I
think you should go back and give me an extra point, mate. I'll tell you what.
He's got a
wrong
theory.
on everything.
He's got a theory on the golden age.
I got Logie. I got Golden Age.
Logie was
I got all the TVs in the decades.
Logie wasn't even the third most important.
I was a solid 3.
Fair. We'll give you the 3.
No. I'll give you another point.
All right.
3. There you go. No, you tell me somebody's age and they'll tell you when they think the golden age was. It's whenever they were young, whenever they were growing up. So if you were becoming of age in the 90s, then Friends and Home Improvement, those are your golden age shows. If you grew up in the 60s, it's the Beverly Hillbillies, the Smothers Brothers, or whatever you were growing up to there. It's very much linked to when your youth was. That's everybody's golden age.
So there's no like general consensus in the industry that like, because I saw something somewhere saying the 50s was the golden age, and maybe that was because, I Love Lucy and those type like things like that were starting to develop more seriously. But basically you're saying right now, everybody's golden age is different, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there are people who feel that today is the golden age because there's so much choice.
Yeah, I think for dramas definitely now is the golden age.
Well, there was.
I don't think for sitcoms though. I think sitcoms peaked in the 80s and the 90s really for quality of, even back further than that. But I remember my big show was the A-Team as a kid, and then I thought to myself, I'll show me son because the A-Team's on Peacock, right? It's just sitting there. So I started watching the A-Team by myself. and then I said, come and check this out. And he's like, Dad, this show's very boring. And I'm like, no, it's good. They fucking escaped to the LA Underground, you fucking idiot. Look, Hannibal has to get into a disguise to meet this guy. And I go, look, they've locked them up in a prison cell with a welder and a car and all these different metals. Why would they do that?
But what about Knight Rider with a car?
I like Knight Rider, but then I had an incident with David Hasselhoff, so I'm not as. David Hasselhoff threatened me out the front of a trailer once because I bloody said something stupid.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
Is he 6.5 feet tall or something?
He's a nice enough bloke. No, he's all right, David. He's all right.
I Love Lucy ranked number 1 for how many of its first 6 seasons? Jim said 5.
Close. It's 4. Its first season, it was number 3 or something. Then it was number 1. But then it got knocked off in the 55 season by a show called The $64,000 Question, which was a huge sensation at the time.
Was that like the first game show?
First big money game show. First big money game show where they could, $64,000 was an enormous amount of money then. That kind of thing, until they found out they were all rigged and they all went away. But for about 4 or 5 years there in the late 50s, these big money quiz shows were big, and it actually knocked off I Love Lucy for 1 year.
I love game shows, me. I'll watch any game shows. I watch game shows like an old person.
I've been loving The Hustler lately.
Oh, I love The Hustler. Love The Hustler.
I always think I know who it is.
I'm dumb as fuck. I never know. I love The Hustler. I like The Chase.
I love The Chase.
I watch the Australian Chase, the British Chase, and the American Chase, and I sit there with my wife and I act like she enjoys it as well. I'm like, go and try to beat me like that, right? And I do the quiz really fast, and she's like, okay. I think she's appeasing me. When did?
I have a question about I Love Lucy, because I was listening to I think NPR or some one day, and they said that Desi Arnaz invented a lot of different things in television, where it was like the syndication or reruns, and then something like he came up with that idea to do that, or I don't know. They said that he was responsible for a lot of things in television. Is that true? Or is that...
First of all, let's just give credit for an interracial marriage at that stage on TV. It was pretty fucking wild, huh?
Yeah. No, it was. That's one of the things. I mean, a Hispanic husband on television in 1951. That was revolutionary at the time. And she's a very good comic. I mean, come on. I mean, and the other actors that were with him, William Frawley, and they were character actors, but they were very good too. So it was a very well cast show. But it was filmed where most sitcoms were live at the time, including the infamous Laytons, which I'll get to. Because it was filmed, then they could syndicate it afterwards. I mean, that was new at the time. So the fact that he insisted on it being filmed on a soundstage in Hollywood in 1951, where everybody else was live, and they wanted him to be live too on the show, was quite forward-looking. Made him a lot of money.
Did they film I Love Lucy on our old?
Yeah, they did.
On the lot.
Jim's show it was called Hollywood Center Studios, and then now it's like Sunset Las Palmas, but there's plaque there.
It's like I Love Lucy, Mr. Ed, The Cosby Show.
On our soundstage was Mr. Ed, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Ed was shot where Jim's Comedy Central show.
It also wasn't called Hollywood Center when they were doing it. It went through like 5 name changes, that place.
But it was cool.
There's a ton of history there, yeah.
Fresh Prince was there.
Was it?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
La La Land for one scene.
Yeah.
Was there anything left from Mr. Ed? Any scent or
I had the same. I had the same dressing room as Bill Cosby did, and one time I just lifted up one of the vents and all these quaaludes fell down.
That's why he was always sleeping in his office.
Like, that's where I put him.
They on the outside of our like soundstage, there was just a big poster of Wilbur and Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Like it was just like they'd had the posters of the stuff there, and then there was a plaque for I Love Lucy. I know that because that's what they did at midnight. Was that same one where they had, like it said, I Love Lucy shot there and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
If you watch I Love Lucy now, though, it holds up.
It definitely
does. It holds up. She's a
does.
great physical comedian. Yep. You just put her in a factory line, having to do a job that can mess up, and just roll the camera.
Yeah.
All right, these eggs keep coming. She has to put them in boxes.
Yeah, I remember really loving it. I haven't watched it in a while, but I think it would hold up. Golden Girls holds up still.
Golden Girls still holds up. That's an 80s thing. The Golden Girls still holds up, although it's one of those ones where you look at the age of all the actors and you're like, so Rue McCallaghan was 50?
Yeah.
Fuck me. Yeah. And it's like, all right, she's done with life.
Aging
50.
looks different now.
Jack sent me. I'm a big fan of Cheers. I love Cheers. I watch Cheers on the road. At least 1 or 2 episodes a week I watch of Cheers.
It's arguably one of the best pilots of all time.
Fantastic TV show. And it rated terribly for a few years. And then it just hit, and then people caught onto it, and they don't give TV time to breathe like that anymore. They just cancel you straight away. But Jack sent me a thing of the original cast members, or the cast members of Cheers on the pilot episode, what age they were. It's horrifying. they're all in their 30s. Yeah. Norman Cliff are in their 30s. Fucking, they're all like Coach was like 42.
I thought he was like 70.
No, he's like 60 or something like that. But everyone's like very young, where you're like, oh my God. Was the sun worse back then?
Yeah, because like I'm 35.
Okay, so Rhea Perlman was 34.
Oh no.
Ted Danson was 34. Shelley Long was 33. Norm was 34 and Cliff was 35.
They're all my age.
I'm a decade too old to be a cast member in Cheers.
Wow.
If that's what drinking does to you, kids, you don't want to drink in a pub every single day. Because just when you look at it. It's
58 coach.
It's rough.
yeah, coach was 58, right? But holy fuck, that was a hard. And it was also like Ted Danson was an old ball player. He was 34. You still got a big contract ahead of you.
He had an injury.
No, he stopped. It was the booze. It was because he was an alcoholic and he used to fuck up. But he wasn't boozing anymore. Get back in the game.
Yeah. I know Tom Brady's 40, whatever.
Tom Brady just said today he's going to play till he's 50.
Yeah.
He said, I live in Florida. I'll play till I'm 50 because I'll slip into retirement very easily. That's what he said.
What is Vaudio? You said visual audio. Is that correct?
I should have gotten a point for that, surely.
Actually, that's a mix of vaudeville and video. Vaudeville and video. Vaudeville was, you probably never saw a vaudeville show, but vaudeville was a succession of acts.
We talked about vaudeville on our last podcast.
Yeah, we did musical theater.
Vaudeville's been coming up a lot for us.
And that's really what the Milton Berle show was, the Texaco Star Theater, even Ed Sullivan, for that matter. It was just disconnected acts, one after the other after the other. And by the way, the reason that Ed Sullivan did so well was he was so stiff that you had to believe he had some ability to get these big acts on, because it obviously wasn't him that we were watching for. It was the Beatles or Elvis or whoever he was able to put on. And he was very broad, and he would have Elvis or whoever was controversial at the time, too. So he had a great Rolodex, as I used to say.
Yeah, but it wasn't him. It would have been his bookers, right?
No, it was him. He was originally a Broadway columnist, so he knew everybody in the business.
Oh, it was. That's why.
Back then, they probably didn't have as big a staff. Back then, it was probably I know
I don't think
guys.
they had special bookers.
No, and if they didn't answer his call, he'd trash them in his column in the New York newspapers. You see, so they all answered his call.
Brilliant.
Oh, wow. I always read
blackmail.
I always read a statistic, and I hope it's true. But when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan show for that amount of time, for the show was on, was the lowest rate of crime in American history for that hour. It was the lowest rate because even the criminals were at home watching the telly, and also everyone was home, so no one was going to rob anyone in their house. It was the lowest reported crime. It was that hour.
Have you ever heard of the flushometer index?
I have not.
That's an alternative to Nielsen. It's a way to measure audiences because when the water pressure goes down in a city, that means everybody is flushing, right? That's what you did during the commercials. So you can actually trace, they did this during I Love Lucy, you can actually trace the maximum audience where the water pressure is normal, and then it plunges. Oh, that's going to be the commercial. Then it goes back up again.
That's not that accurate, though, because I only flush after my second shit. Because I'm
You like to save water.
an environmentalist.
Yeah. First president, you already said, was Roosevelt, and then FCC, Jim said, handles censorship, et cetera. I got that right, at least.
Yeah, man.
That's one of your points.
Well, that's the Federal Communications Commission that assigns frequencies.
I find I have a bit of an issue with so now we got cancel culture, and there's been some TV shows that were cancelled for saying certain words or certain looks that they had on the screen. This is not acceptable or whatever. And a lot of the networks came out with oh no, we can't believe that blah blah blah. This doesn't represent us. Well, it does. Because every joke you see on TV, whenever we got complaints on any of our shows about jokes, it had to get through so many fucking people before we could tell that joke, right? It had to get through lawyers. It had to get through the head of the network. It had to get through everything.
Standards and practices.
And we did a thing on the Jeffrey Show, which I'm sure a lot of people do. I definitely did it on Legit, where you'd put in, if you had a real racy joke in there, you put 3 other racy jokes in. So you can negotiate to get the joke that you wanted.
Yeah.
You go, all right, if you give me this one, I'll get rid of the other 3. And so it was a game that you played with each episode.
Yeah. Popular show in each of the decades. So Jim got this right.
I could do more in each decade. But.
Well, I mean, let's in the 90s, maybe, and I'm sure Tim would know some more obscure ones that we wouldn't remember, but Friends used to have for the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got Frasier for the 90s as well. You got Seinfeld was a bigger show than Friends in the 90s because Friends trickled over into the 2000s Because you always remember, like, in those early episodes, they did the skyline shots that had 9/11, the Twin Towers in there all the time, and then they just didn't mention it. There was never that episode that, like...
The one where the Twin Towers came down.
The one
covered in soot.
The one where Chandler had to get out of his office really quick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just didn't mention it because it's a sitcom and all that sort of stuff. But Seinfeld was arguably a bigger sitcom and had a bigger... what was bigger, Seinfeld or Friends?
Friends.
Friends was bigger. Okay.
Yeah, it took, Seinfeld was number one for a season at some point. It took a while to get off the ground.
Yeah.
It was so different from everything. But it eventually, but Friends was a hit from the beginning. What about ER? All those Dreamboat doctors.
Yeah. Roseanne was a big show of the 90s. That was a very popular sitcom.
I don't remember. I don't think I watched a lot of TV then as much as I did in the 80s. I watched more TV in the 80s when I was a kid than the 90s. Because the 80s.
Facts of Life?
Facts of Life, Different Strokes. I remember Silver Spoons. Greatest American Hero. I love that show.
That's an 80s Greatest American Hero. Yeah. Whatever happened to Small Wonder, which was just a robot kid? They had a robot in the family. What? How the fuck did Jeffries not get made? It does my head in every bloody day.
Or like Alf.
Alf was great.
Yeah, Alf was great. That's Scott's favorite show from childhood.
Didn't everyone hate each other in Alf, Tim? Wasn't that the famous thing, Tim, where everybody...
Those weren't the biggest hits of the 80s, though. Dallas and Dynasty.
Dallas was very big.
Knots Landing.
Did we always have soap operas in the middle of the day? Was that always a thing, or did that happen in the 70s? Because I feel like that's been forever.
Goes back to the 50s, which some might consider forever, and it was on radio before then during the day too.
If you watch, like in Britain, they have Coronation Street and EastEnders, and these are the two soap operas that everyone watches. And at Christmas, you all got to talk about the big finale. I used to find them bloody boring. Whenever I heard the Coronation theme song, my body would just shut down, like, fuck. Dun, 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 like that, right? But that show's so fucking old that there's an actor on that show who was like a 5-year-old when it started. He's like a 60-year-old man. He's just never gone off to do another fucking job. He's just like, nah, I'm good here on Corrie.
Oh, here's a question. So the Addams Family and the Munsters, what decade was that? And then I wonder why haven't they remade those? You would think that
they tried to remake the Munsters with Eddie Izzard playing grandpa and all that sort of stuff. They tried to remake it, and then the network balked on it, and they just brought out a 2-hour special of the episodes that they did do, just as like a Christmas or Halloween, like a Halloween.
Wait, those were out at the same time in the 60s, Tim? The Munsters? And
yes, they were simultaneously. That was one network copying the other network, literally.
Yeah.
And they only ran for 2 years, those two shows.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
That's it?
And those were like big social commentaries too, right? Because that was essentially basically saying like instead of using a black family to move in, they kind of dehumanized it and made it these monsters so that people could see like the humanization of these people that are different than us or something like that. I mean, like, so that's why I put in the question, has TV gotten more or less political? Because a lot of people now are like, every TV show has some little angle that they're trying to push or, some message that they're trying to push. But really, it's been happening since the beginning of time.
Well, the Smothers Brothers were pretty political in the late 60s. They got kicked off the air for it, as a matter of fact. They, knee deep in the big muddy, their criticisms of the Vietnam War at the time. But there's more of it today.
Right.
But I find that sometimes I hate to harp on about myself, but I enjoy it. But like with the making of Legit, we used probably more disabled actors than have ever been used in any show ever. In fact, I was told that by the agency I employed them from. But we did it to serve the story because we had a disabled character who was one of the main characters, and you had to populate the world, et cetera, et cetera. But then after that, it became every interview I did about the show was about, did you do that to bring awareness to whatever? And sometimes I'd say I did, and then sometimes I go,
like, do I want the credit or not?
it was a happy accident. I'm very glad I did it. I'm very proud of what we did there, but it was for no political purpose.
Yeah.
No, but you took the disabled character to get laid for the first time in the first episode.
In the first episode? Oh, no, we had a lot of disabled people fucking in that show. we had one where Rodney was just having sex over a toilet with a prostitute. Like, it was out there.
Have we talked about the Laytons yet?
Oh, yeah.
That's the last question. Yeah, right here.
That's what I want to know, and I've been asking this question.
Okay, just before we do this, just go your top 5 sitcoms, and I'll give you my top. Everyone throw in their top 5, or if they have different ones.
Number 1, Quark.
What?
Quark. What's Quark?
Quark. Richard Benjamin on a garbage scow in the outer space. It's a takeoff on Star Trek, basically. And they're going where too many have gone before, collecting all the garbage and stuff that all the Enterprise and so forth have left behind. It was hilarious. It lasted for about 6 months.
98% of Google users like this TV show.
Wow,
Quark.
I've never heard of
There
it.
you go.
Is it streaming anywhere?
I don't.
I'm going to look that up later.
I'm watching Quark, man.
It was on NBC. You might be able to see it on Peacock.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know
I'm going
if
to check
it's
that
still
out.
there.
They had Betty 1 and Betty 2, the two identical robot women on it.
Yeah, and this bikini. That's nice. Yeah.
Sounds hilarious. I'm in.
Yeah, that's number 1. After that, it would be more traditional, probably. Maybe MASH, maybe. I think The Rockford Files was a sitcom in some ways.
Oh, I used to watch it with my grandmother, but I didn't think it was funny when I was a kid. I used to be like, "Ah, man, Rockford Files are on," and just sit there.
he had such a laid-back sense of humor about things, but that's just
she would be laughing. Actually, now I remember, my grandmother would be laughing, and then I would watch Barney. What was the name of that show?
Barney Miller.
Barney Miller. No, Barney Miller. Barney Miller.
The big purple dinosaur.
Yeah.
Clean up.
I'd say Seinfeld, MASH, Cheers. Let me think of
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development's a
Development.
very good sitcom. Yeah.
How about Frasier?
I like Frasier. I like Frasier. I was a big
Frasier's
fan of
Another
Frasier.
great pilot.
I have a book of scripts of Frasier scripts, and if you just read them, they're funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it might be because the actors playing the characters, but it doesn't matter. The writing is so funny.
I'll tell you,
just the scripts.
I know a little bit about sitcoms because I've done work in sitcoms. It all comes down to fucking casting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that Friends cast was fucking off the hook.
It's like I Love Lucy. You said at the beginning, like Tim was saying, the casting was so perfect for it. That's why it holds
you can
up.
have a great script. It'll be fucked up in casting in a second with one split decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Golden Girls too. I mean, the casting was immaculate in that show.
Yeah. And it's it's funny too that somebody put I think it's on my Twitter still. Somebody did a thread of all the guest appearances in Miami Vice. Did you see anyone see that?
Mm-mm.
Like it was like all these huge actors had like these roles in Miami Vice. And I remember Miami Vice because I'm from Miami. I remember we had like a real pride in that show because it was all shot in Miami. But it was a pretty dark show the first 3 or 4 seasons. And then I think at the end they kind of got like really popular and they made it different. But that was a very popular show.
Well, even the Golden Girls, there's some guests on there. Like I was watching an episode the other day, George Clooney is just hanging out.
Yeah.
There's the one where Quentin Tarantino shows up as an Elvis impersonator.
On the Golden Girls?
On the Golden Girls, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like his first break. Tarantino wanted to be an actor, and that was like his first gig, and then he like couldn't get any work. I was like, okay, I'll direct.
You seen the Golden Girls?
I'll tell you another one that has I would put this sitcom, and if you watch it now, it could never get made. Married with Children.
Oh, yeah.
Married with Children
I grew up on
is
that.
fucking funny,
Yeah.
man.
Funny.
Yeah.
You just Google Psycho Dad, right? Married with Children. It's a hell of a fun song that would never be allowed on TV right now. All right, so now it's the Laytons. We have to hear
Yes.
about the Laytons.
Okay. So
I
tell us.
didn't know if anyone wanted to throw anything in there. Or if,
All right, is there any sitcom that you want to throw?
30 Rock's my favorite.
I like MASH very much. I watch MASH all the time, but I could get rid of 1/3 of the episodes where it's just like, we're going to do the black and white one where he writes a letter to his fucking dad. I'm like, oh, God. Do something where Klinger's trying to eat a Jeep.
Like the heartfelt ones you don't want. You
I
don't
don't
want.
like sincerity.
Don't watch Ted Lasso.
So you're Third
Ted
Rock from the
Lasso.
Sun.
30 Rock.
Oh, 30
No, 30 Rock,
30
not-
Rock.
Yeah,
But
30
Third
Rock's
Rock from the Sun was fantastic as well.
No,
That
Third Rock
pilot's
from the
weird.
Sun, yeah.
Yeah, I found 30 Rock to be a little bit too goofy for me. I needed a little bit more heart in there, but it's a generational thing, I'm sure.
I guess so.
Well, I worked in that building, and it's perfect. Believe me, that show.
Really?
30 Rock, yeah.
And
That's what it's really
and
like.
Jim touched on it. Like dramas now, like there was a turning point where drama on TV was like, this is okay, and then it was like the movie actors moved to the TV screen, and then to TV, and then and now it's like some of the best things I've ever seen.
You would
drama.
never have a movie star on TV. There was TV stars and there was movie
Who
stars.
was the first? When did that happen? When was that transition, Tim? Like,
1955, the mid 50s. Because at the beginning, the movie studios wrote into their contracts that if you work for us as a movie actor, you can't appear on TV. They were afraid that TV was going to drive them out of business.
No, but that's when it actually started happening. But when did it socially become like where actors say? So George Papard, who was on Breakfast and Tiffany's, he was always angry that he was on the A team because he felt like a failed movie star. But I think it started becoming movies to television. I'll tell you the moment, 24, Keith Sutherland doing 24 was the moment where a movie star slipped over into a big blockbuster TV show. And then, because George Clooney was in ER before he became a movie star, and I don't think he's ever come back to television. But there's probably 10 people you can count that are just movie stars that will not do television.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't become really cool until the 90s, probably. Yeah. There were separate awards called the Cable Ace Awards for the best cable original shows because the Emmys would not recognize cable. They would not give an award to somebody for cable programming until about 1990, I think. So it wasn't the cool thing to do, but you started to have people. Love Boat. I mean, shows like that.
Love Boat guest star list is fucking off the hook.
Fantasy Island. That was the same thing.
Non-stop.
Those shows were just I felt like vessels. Well, no pun intended, but I felt like those were just like Fantasy Island and Love Boat. You're just like, all right, who famous is going to be on this? Just like, yeah. Okay, The Laytons.
Well, The Laytons was a half-hour sitcom in 1948. So seen only in the New York area and maybe Washington, a couple of other cities. But it's notable because it was the first show starring Black actors, African-American actors. But that's all I know about it. And for 30 years, I've been trying to find out more about it, articles about it, somebody who actually saw it. They're dying off by now, I guess. And like you, nobody's ever heard of it.
How did you hear about it?
You're just trying to get information from us. I thought you had to.
Why would I know about that? Bloody hell, I lost a point for that.
No, that wasn't in the point. How did you hear about it initially?
It was reviewed in Variety. And, I went through all the old TV guides and Variety and Billboard and people who were writing about television back then. And so I know who was in it, and I know when it ran, and I know that it was, for a while, a network show, a network being like 3 stations at that time. But that's all. And in terms of what actually went on or what they did for a living, that kind of stuff, is very
right. Any of our East Coast listeners, comment if you have seen or heard of The Laytons.
All right. So this is part of the show called Dinner Party Facts, Tim, where we ask our guests to give our listeners something obscure or interesting that they probably don't know that they can use to impress people about this subject.
Well, let's see. We've already used the laugh track one, right? What else can we talk about that's obscure?
Oh, when you mentioned that yesterday, did you want me to save that for that?
Oops.
What about episode 6 of The Laytons where John had 2 dates at the same time and he had to show up to a party and he ran across the room?
If you don't know what history was, you make it up. So yeah, we can do that. We could create our own Laytons, I suppose.
Mr. Ed was really talking. Just say that.
Yeah. Peanut butter. They put peanut butter in his mouth.
If you've got a real horse in that studio, I think the horse on occasion might do something you don't want the horse to do, right? Yeah. So I'm asking if you could smell anything in that studio when you used it.
We brought a camel.
We had a camel on set that just pissed itself or shit or something.
Well, it didn't piss itself. It just pissed on the floor.
Yeah, just pissed on the floor. I didn't break character. I kept going.
Yeah. I wonder if the ghost of Mr. Ed made that happen.
Every animal we had on Jim's show and that same thing, shit or piss, or both, on the
including the employees' dogs that were in the house.
Oh my God.
There was a goat that shit. Yeah.
Who was the character named Elvis on Miami Vice?
Oh, Elvis would have been an informant